Next on the Jeff Curley Show, you'll meet the hosts of a very powerful podcast. It's called Hurt, Heal, Evolve. Their story. Thank you for coming into the studio. Taquana, why don't you start by talking about what the show is about?
So the show is Hurt, Heal, Evolve, and hello, ladies. How's everybody doing? Good. Everybody good? Everybody good. It's been a day, but we are here. Thank you for joining the Hurt, Heal, Evolve podcast. I am Taquana, your host, and I am accompanied by these beautiful ladies. We are going to be continuing our conversation. We had a series, so it was the Hurt, Heal, Evolve series. We talked about our hurt. We talked about our healing, and we had to have our girl, Pastor Cora Jakes, come in and walk us into this evolving season that we're about to walk in. But before we get into this conversation, I want to catch up on a couple of clips, just in case you didn't catch the previous episode of the Heal right now.
It's a daily process. Healing is something that you walk out. It doesn't just happen and it's over. And you say, yeah, I've dealt with that and I'm beyond it. Healing, sometimes the scab can come off, even if it's really very well healed over.
Yeah.
And so I think where I am, big picture is, like I said, then I've really moved past the pain that they caused specifically. Mm-hmm. And I'm dealing more with how does this impact now my everyday life and how I interact with the people in my life.
And I have to give room to myself. I have to give myself grace to know that this is not just a quick process.
Yeah.
You know, this is something that's long going. I think this is going to last all of my life, where I'm continuing to go through this healing process.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just something where you say, okay, I'm healed. Okay, that's it. I'm great. Yeah. No, I think because in life, we have reminders of certain things. You know, we have triggers. You know, I know that I do. You see them in a different space. And I know this is hard for a lot of people. You don't want to have grace and understanding for your predator, but y'all, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
When you really try to get that, maybe your predator, all they knew was hurt, and all they do was get hurt, so that's why they hurt you.
That's why
you were just happened to be that one. It was gonna be somebody. You just happened to be that one. And when you realize they didn't know what they were doing, I'm like, no, came from another country. She didn't know what all America was. She was trying to figure it out. So if I see it from that way, I don't feel like you purposely try to ruin my life. No, you were trying your best.
So now that we're evolving into this season, I'm going to go straight to Pastor Cora and ask her. I know that there's stages. We talked about the stages. The evolving stage. Mm-hmm. How do you get there?
Well, it is interesting because I feel that evolving is different for everyone. And so depending on the trauma you've experienced, depending on the hurt you've experienced, you handle evolving differently. But if I had to do an acronym, I would say that it's about embracing your victory, obeying God, listening, and viewing everything differently. Okay. So changing your perspective is what's going to help you to evolve. Embracing that you're victorious over the victimization that comes with your trauma is going to help you to evolve. Obeying God in the times where you don't want to is going to help you to evolve. And then just listening, having an ear. I think so often we're talking too much, we can't hear God.
Yeah.
And so you can't evolve if you're not willing to listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a problem for me. I don't know about you ladies, but I don't like to listen. I think my mom can attest to that. But I know if she can attest to it, I know for sure God can. Because sometimes we just want him to hurry up and do what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Give me a sign, give me something. And a lot of times God is silent. And I think he wants us to be that way too. Lorindia, I have a question for you. You got emotional. You're my emotional girl. Me and you are like spirit sisters in that.
He done turned me into emotional, spiritual gangster. I'm like, all right. Yeah, no, but it's all right. It's all right.
So where are you at in your evolving stage? Because I remember you shared the mom and daughter relationship. Mm-hmm. Are you on the track to evolving? Are you in your evolving stage?
Definitely.
Or have you surpassed it, you think?
I think I'm still in the evolving stage because, like, you know, I think, like, even, like, at some point my mom will call and then I will be kind of annoyed and I'm like, why am I annoyed, right? So I'm not fully involved if I'm already annoyed because I don't even know what she's gonna ask. But in my mind, the back of my mind, I'm like, she has a request. But I'm like, no, don't be like that, right? Because God don't do us like that. So that's evolving. Is like you can't go at things the same way just because you know it's gonna be like that, but you can't handle it with that same regard and with that lack of patience, right?
Yeah.
So I'm evolving because I'm learning to be patient, and I've been surprised. Even today, she called me. Hey, she was a B. I said, you know what? If I would have gave you attitude, it would have been me. So it's funny how that works because I would have been upset at you for you calling me with the attitude and with requests, but then look at me, I'm the one with an attitude.
So you can't anticipate that it's going to go one way.
That is going to go one way because it has before. So I'm definitely involved. I thank God for it.
Yeah.
But patience and silence. That's what the Lord has been telling me this. Just listen. Yes. And it's like just because it's been revealed. Literally, the moment that he's like, wait for it, and then it'll literally just happen like a movie in front of me. I'm like, well, okay.
Okay. Lori, what about you?
I think evolving is ongoing because we are always changing.
Yeah.
Who I am today is not who I was 6 months ago, and it's not who I'll be in 6 months. But the hardest part for me on evolving was the piece Cora talked about, perspective. Yeah. One thing I find when you get stressed, it's easy to go back to the perspectives you had before. They're defaults, right?
Yeah.
And it's like muscle memorization. You just go back to it. But knowing what the perspective should be now based on what you've learned and letting yourself see it differently and embrace seeing it differently and accepting that's a different result. I find sometimes that for me is my challenge in evolving because I'm so used to muscle memorization, it coming across like this. So having to let myself show up differently, expect different, and then receive the different without thinking, are you playing me? Yeah, exactly. Accepting what I see. Yeah. And that's been the hardest part of evolving. Like I said before, getting past the hurt. I'm not hurt by the person necessarily. You were hurt there, but I mean, I've moved past that. But how am I now? And that's just been the biggest challenge for me. It's been shifting my perspective for my current situation.
Yeah.
Cora, how do you stop going backwards? Going back to that, I call it a safe place. Because although there probably was trauma back then, even though there were probably problems back then, it's familiar and it becomes safe in the toxicity and all that because you know it versus not knowing where evolving is going to take you. How do you stop from going back to that place?
Making a decision. You have to make a conscious decision that you're going to redefine what safety looks like for you, what peace looks like for you. If I was in a session, I would tell a mentee, tell me, what does safety look like? What does that feel like? What does it sound like? Because a lot of times people find safety in their trauma. Like you said, they find comfort. A lot of people get comfortable being a victim. And so you have to make a decision like, no, I'm going to redefine what safety looks like. I'm going to redefine what peace looks like. I'm going to redefine what trust and reconciliation and boundaries look like. I think if we set boundaries, it would really help us to not go back. Because a lot of times we're going back because we refuse to set boundaries and keep them where they are.
Yeah.
You know, something on that my husband always says to the kids, you have to make that decision now. When we're teaching them, you don't do certain behaviors. He says, you got to decide now. You can't wait till you're in the situation. You got to decide right now, I'm not going to do this. And I thought about that when Cora said making the decision to be different. You got to decide before the atmosphere presents itself. You have to have made that decision ahead of time. So you say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Because once it happens, it's very easy to go back.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
and then ask the situation, how do you help me? So if you're going to go back and ask questions.
Right.
Go back and ask, how are you going to help my peace? How am me going back? How's it going to help my joy? How's it going to make me stronger?
Right.
If I am going to go back, I want to go back and learn something, not just sit in the trauma, but challenge the trauma to teach me something.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because if you ask those questions,
You normally
You're
come
probably-
up with
and you won't go back.
Yeah.
If you really, but how often do we sit and really assess?
Exactly.
We just run back.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
That's
Right. What does your safe place look like? Do you have, what does it look like?
You know what? My safe place is honestly being guarded to what, and I say that because I don't like to, when it comes to the time where I'm faced with that past situation, I completely lose it. And so instead of losing it, I feel like, well, I'll just shield myself. I'll just guard myself. I won't let this person in. You know, I won't, no, you come here and no further. But what I've learned with that is I'm not allowing myself the love that could be potentially coming into my life as well.
Right.
That person is trying to show me. I've learned a lot from being guarded that, Rachel, that does not work for you, really. It does not work for you because a lot of times, again, it's causing you to be fearful, you know, because there's that fear. You're really fearful. When you're guarded, you're really scared. And God has not given us a spirit of fear. And so that's one thing that he's been working with me on. Listen, you are not to fear anything. And if you trust me, you won't have to worry about it anyway.
Exactly.
And if you listen, just like you've been talking about, listening, because that's something big for me. Because I feel like, okay, I know what I need to do for Rachel. I know what I need to do. I know what it's supposed to look like. And God has been showing me so many times, no, that didn't work for you, did it? How did that work out for you? It didn't. You know? It didn't work. And so he's constantly reminding me my ways does not work. Rachel's ways does not work. So it's best that I am obedient. It's best that I do listen without going, here you go, spilling it out. And then you have ruined it. And now you're coming right back to me to fix it. You know? That's why it's so important to listen. That's why it's so important to obey, Rachel. Because then you find yourself in a situation where you're going to have to go tell another person that you may have offended, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lorendia.
Right.
Because I spoke when I should have been listening.
Right.
You know? And that is what this is all about. Sisterhood. Right? Because the truth of the matter is we do hurt. Sometimes we do it without even acknowledging what we're doing. But the important part of it, like the Lord said, when you know you have caused a fault, you need to apologize. You need to go to that person and correct it. And I'm so glad we have a panel here that is able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna
So good.
because I don't want to tell our personal. Y'all not about to know our personal business here, but it's fun. God's timing is just awesome because we did. We can't be sitting up here trying to inspire, motivate, or any of that if we're not right, if we're not on track to do that. So there was we are women, so of course there's going to be I'm not going to say schisms, but there's going to be hiccups in the friendships, and it's important to not let those hiccups go unfixed. And we kind of had a hiccup. We had a hiccup, and to Rachel's point, you brought it up.
Absolutely.
To her point, there was something there, and it had to be fixed, and it was. And it was without getting in our business, like I said. But it was just beautiful. It was beautiful to see us all get together, and it's an evolving moment.
Absolutely.
That's the word.
If that was the unsaved Tijuana,
unsaved everybody.
We
Let's
could
be
have
real.
done
Everybody the saved me.
It could have been the same me.
I have to be the unsaved man. It's actually the me. The man. Yeah.
No, that's good. No, that's good. We just would have handled things like way different. So to be able to stop, think, listen,
Would have been here.
levels.
But what we did was, and it showed evolution, I think, on everybody's part.
Absolutely.
To be able to say, because first of all, it's hard when you're the leader of a group to say, y'all, we got to talk about this. Right? Then it's hard that's the evolution. Congratulations. It's an evolution to say, okay, I'm sorry. That's an evolution. It's another evolution to say, I accept it. I feel you, sis. Another evolution to say, you know what? I knew better this part. I didn't. I'm sorry. All the way around, it showed evolving.
And we didn't even know.
And we didn't even know it.
Yeah, that's what made it authentically true. We figured it out.
All right. The hurt healing long happened. Literally.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Cora, is there, okay, I'm not going to say is there because of course there is. Can you name something specific without getting into too much detail, you can talk about anything you want that you specifically got hurt from. You healed or healing. It could be hurt, hurting, healing. Something specific that you don't mind sharing, that you experienced, that you either evolved from or evolving from.
So many things.
Okay.
I have a lot of lists, but if I just pick one, I think I would just go with the most recent is my divorce. It was very sudden, very traumatic. I won't bore you with the details, but it definitely hurt me. The aftermath and the people that came after my divorce to attack me hurt me. And so it was very difficult to try to heal in a quiet space when everything was so loud. Yeah. It's hard to trust God when you're being stoned.
Yeah.
And so it's we live in a society where I believe that we would have thrown our rocks. You know, like we would have thrown our rocks at that woman in real life. And that's what I feel like we social media is throwing rocks. Like literally you're just throwing your stones. And so it was very hurtful. I got through it with therapy, hallelujah, and time. You know, it'll be 2 years that I've been divorced just a couple of days ago. And I didn't even realize it, but my body remembered, my heart remembered. And so like the whole weekend, I was just very emotional and crying and all of the things. And I text my sister, like, I don't know what's going on with me. And she's like, I don't know. And then I talked to my therapist on Monday and she was like, how are you? And I was like, why wouldn't I? What's wrong? And she said, it's been 2 years since your divorce. Your body remembers this. Your heart remembers this. And I was like, that's why I've been a mess all weekend. And so even when you have healed, your body and heart still remember that hurt. And so I had to challenge myself to say that it was okay for me to still be hurting and help someone else while I was going through it.
And I think that's the misconception that a lot of people have. They think they have to be totally healed before they can minister, before they can motivate, before they can encourage.
Yeah, Dr. Cole.
Yeah. All the time. And they still go to
they get COVID. And they get COVID and take some time off.
And all that.
Which sometimes we have to take some time off or some time away and come back and still.
And that's or know what you can distribute at the time. Because sometimes I may not be able to give you advice in this because, I'm going through this. So, no, not this, but this, I got you because I'm still healed past that. So I can help you with that. But
I know the pain you talk about. I recognize I've been divorced before and twice. I've talked about it. And I was a pastor's granddaughter. And the first one, I mean, the person who I thought was my good friend who I talked to about things were falling apart was the very person that was going back behind my back saying everything. And everybody just had so much to say about and it felt like a double betrayal. It was a betrayal for the marriage to fail because it's the death of something, no matter how bad it gets or the reasoning, it's the death of something you had a hope for. It doesn't mean you still want it, but it's the death of something you had a hope for. Then to have your people who know you, you think those sometimes are the first ones that and that hurts. It's a double. You just really feel like, oh my God.
Yeah, and by always, if it rains, it pours.
It
won't leave me alone.
But there's another side of it. You evolve past it. You learn how to understand that's where they are and leave them there.
That's right, by embracing victory. Because it's very easy to be like, I'm a victim. Woe is me. I'm sad. I'm hurting. Feel sad for me. Pity me. But you can do the other side and embrace that I'm victorious. This didn't break me. This didn't kill me. This didn't tear me down. This did not prevent God's preparation.
That's right.
That part.
And so I continue to move forward because I understand even more so that even though my enemies are present, it doesn't pause God's
That's
preparation.
right. Yeah. Right. That's
Even
good.
though my enemies are present,
It doesn't pause God's preparation.
Come on. because they're still testifying usually. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're present.
Yeah.
It's your enemy's assignment to be present while God is preparing a table for you. That's what he said. I prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies. He didn't say I stopped preparing the table because your enemies showed up. He said, I'm preparing the table and your enemies are present.
So that's
This means their presence as a part of my preparation.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's a good. You should call that.
I should preach that.
The preach that everybody. Yes.
I said, man, I can't even sit still. Come on. I can't.
Right.
I can't.
The Randy has on shout.
Talk to me about the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was when we text the other day, I was saying how so Pastor Cora has these Monday motivational. I don't know exactly what you call it.
It's Monday devotional.
Yeah. And this past Monday, because when I tell you, okay, so for anyone that knows me, they know that I'm like a protector, especially like if I'm a part of something, if you're my friend, it doesn't matter. I'm like 10 toes down.
Yes.
So I have a social media problem, and I probably need to talk to you about that. I try to scroll, and I do for the most part. I think I've evolved. I'm evolving.
Okay.
Some of the comments, I'm like, okay, but it's that one or two that you just feel like it's totally an asinine comment, and it's like, oh no, hold up, because you don't even go. You know what I mean? And you find yourself defending. So I am saying I need help. How do you just stop? How do you? Because I still need to be a part. Because I have to.
Well, I'm telling you, like, God checked me because I feel the same way. I'm a ferocious warrior. I fight.
Yeah.
I have no issues fighting.
Yeah.
And so if you comment, like, I'm ready. Like, I full time. Like, I am full time ready. And so I had to talk to God, like, what am I supposed to do? And he said, just keep watching.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I want to say something. I need to talk back. I need to tell these people who I am. And he said, just keep watching. And I immediately saw Jesus being crucified.
My God.
And all of the people on the sidelines watching, thinking he was going to be a victim, thinking that he was going to be destroyed, thinking that he was not going to win. He wasn't who he said he was. He wasn't the miracle worker that he said he was, thinking that he was going to lose. But when they just kept watching, if you watch to the end, you realize that, he's in a tomb, but he's coming back.
Come on.
And so there's this side where I had to say, let me stop engaging and entertaining my enemy and let me watch the purpose of God.
Yes.
And it's painful and it breaks you and it crushes you and it doesn't feel good and your friends deny you, and betray you, and the people you healed say you didn't heal them at all. And so it's difficult not to respond when you know you're right.
Come on. No, you're right. And you know they're wrong.
And you know they're wrong. But God just said, just keep watching. So I just keep watching. It's easy to respond. It's easy to react.
Second nature. Like
it is difficult to be still and know that I am God. And beside me, there is no other. That's difficult. And I'd be like wanting to fight with him. But he said, no, hold your peace and I'll fight your battle. And I'm letting them fight the battle. And people may be like, why isn't she saying anything? Why isn't she responding? The Lord told me to just keep watching. And so that's what I'm going to do.
And you're and there's nothing better when God vindicates you. I'm sorry. It's better than anything you can do. Because I could just tweet you this or at you this, but God can humble you, sit you down.
Judas killed himself.
Yes, that part. That part. Yeah.
Jesus didn't have to do nothing. Jesus didn't even tell him to do so.
Yeah.
Judas killed himself. He buried his own ditch.
Yeah.
He did it all by himself.
Yeah.
And so your enemies will bury themselves. It's when you interact with them and engage with them that you prolong your battle.
That's right.
Because if you would just sit back and let them do what they're doing, They'll be dead before you know it.
And I'm getting a little emotional because you hear that and it's like, okay, all right, so now I got it. And this is what I'm gonna do. But see, the enemy knows too the buttons.
That's right.
So of course,
I'm gonna text you, watch.
That's right.
yes.
Yeah.
Please watch. But you know what? For somebody told me something one time. It was a professional advice, but it also impacts personal life. Trust people to be themselves.
Yeah.
And the people who usually are the ones coming after you are the ones who probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because people in glass houses, phones. But just watch. Don't say nothing. Just give them the out. Let them be themselves. Yeah, they are going to be who they are.
And that could be very
and do
hard.
what they do.
That could be very hard, especially when you're in a situation like you were saying, Cora, when you know you're innocent. When you and you're forced to watch the world speak on you and speak of something they know nothing about. And it brings me back to the time where I was plastered all over the news, all over CNN, all over. Yeah. It takes me back there when you have people saying, "Oh, she did this, she did that, she did." Oh my God, look at her now. Look at this, look at that. When nobody, not one person stood up that knew the truth. See, that was very hurtful. And God told me, I said, Lord, I have a response for everything. Why is it that I cannot speak for myself? And he told me, just like he told you, quiet.
Yeah.
Watch.
Just
Just let me do this. And that wasn't easy because I felt that the Lord was not doing anything on my behalf. It was quiet. Nothing was being said. But he said, no, just because I said I was going to do it for you, it's not in your time. You will see me work. You'll see. It's not right now. And I didn't get that in the beginning because all I kept getting was the slanderous comments and the this and the that. And I have to sit here and listen and look up on Facebook on what people are saying that they have no knowledge of. You know, that is, oh my God. And to know you are innocent, but God is, I will turn it around for you.
He will.
I will turn it. You will not look like what you just came out of. You will have, listen, been through the smoke, but where is the residue? And the Lord showed me, and he's still showing me. And that was a point in my time, in my life where I felt like I can't come back from this. I will never come back from this. Lord, you could take me now because I don't see my life coming back from this at all. And he showed me. He told me, I will show you. I will show you. And he did just that. And he's still doing it. So I'm so glad that the topic today is evolving because he's showing me just how much, Rachel, you are yet evolving from a place that you didn't think I could bring you back from. But he did. So God is amazing.
And then with your story, you were actually in a physical
prison,
which is horrible.
Absolutely.
And then we have those mental prisons, the ones that no one knows about. You're at home by yourself. Those are the worst. I'll put a pin in that. We'll probably continue that later. Do we have, you guys aren't going to see this, but do we have any questions? Do we have any input? Does anybody want to say anything from the audience? If you do, you can pick up a mic. And it is on.
I do have a couple of questions, if possible. So my first question is, how do you heal? I know we talked about healing last session, but how do you heal and evolve and still be present, right? So I'm a first lady. I work in Dallas County. I'm always working with clients and individuals in marriage and family therapy. How do you get better when you can't step back? Is that possible?
Oh, that's a very good question. Okay, so when I went through my divorce and everything, I explained it two different ways. So as a public figure and a high-profile daughter, there are two types of healings. So you have the private healing that you have to step back and take care of yourself and get the therapy and do the work and do the homework and cry and scream and holler and do all the things privately. And then there is the public healing that the people need to see in order to validate and verify that you have been healed. And so you can be present in that healing, but in your private healing, that's just you. That's you. That can't be you and the congregation and the staff and the team and the people that need you. No, that's you in the cleft of a rock trying to experience the glory of God by yourself. And then you go out and say, okay, I can be present enough to heal in front of you. Until you are able to be present enough to heal in front of them, no, you can't do all three. You have to build that strength to say, okay, you can throw me out now. You can throw me out to the wolves and the sheep because your congregation is filled with both.
Yeah, okay. I would also say, 'cause I was in ministry during my divorce time as well. One of the things that's careful is not to hide in the church work to avoid the pain and the fear that's happening, because it's very easy when it's hurting, especially when you're hurting in your heart, to just basically push it down and just serve. So you don't have to feel it, but it doesn't go away. Definitely find the way to heal privately. You have to do those steps, because otherwise you're doing yourself a disservice.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now, we have to
She said she had a couple.
Oh, you had a couple. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Second question was I like to be by myself sometimes, right? But I know how important community is and sisterhood and all those things. But can you evolve with just you and God? Or does it, I feel like it's an odd question, but does it have to include others? Does it have to include a support system?
I want to answer this because I seem like, you might see me a lot by myself. So I am one of those people you might see a lot by themselves, but then I'm really good with people. So there's two things I know for sure. You can definitely evolve by yourself, and you can definitely evolve with people, because I believe that what you've done in private is going to show with the people. So did I fully evolve in private? Do I know? Unless I'm with my sister and she offends me and I can be like, and that's the true testament of my evolution, is when I'm with others. So I do believe that you can evolve personally. You may not be able to see it right away. I will say that's the tricky part about when you're alone, because you may not always get to notice the fruits of what you're doing because it's you and God. And but I do believe that it depends on who you are. When it's you and God, you either might be the quiet person who becomes talkative because God is pulling it out of you, or you might be the person who, you find yourself being quiet because you're like, okay, what are you trying to tell me, right? If you talk too much, like some of us, right? It's just like the you and God is more so you being quiet. So I do believe you can definitely evolve in both spaces. You just have to give yourself the space and time to see that.
I would agree to some extent, just a little bit of pushback. I believe that it depends on the level of trauma and struggle you're going through. Because some things, yes, is you and God, but some things you need a therapist.
Yeah.
You need a counselor. You need to talk to someone who can yank you out of your perspective and say, well, look at it this way. Maybe think something different. Add a word. Like there have been times my therapist just added a sometimes to a statement that I said, and it changed the way that I looked at it. And so I think that if you're on a basic level where it's like just, I'm just trying to heal from like small things that have gone on in my life, then absolutely do it by yourself. But if you have gone through sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sex trafficking, any of those things, you need to have somebody that is going to stand with you and hold you up. If you're battling depression, isolation and loneliness is not the way you feed that. And so it's important to know what support system you can lean on depending on what trauma you're going through.
Yeah, that's good. That was good. And I totally agree. And I was going to say something similar to that. And everybody shouldn't be a part of your
Support system.
Yeah.
Right.
While you're on that evolving, everybody don't need to come along. That's when you have to assess who is it going to benefit? Is it going to help my evolvement?
Right.
You being there. You know what I mean? So I think those are things you got to look at too. Anybody have anything else? Because I think this can be continued. But Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for coming and pouring into us. We are going to have part 2. So you just be available. I'll be available. Yeah. So thank you all for joining. We appreciate you. There will be a part 2. I'm not going to tell you when, but you have to tune in to all the other podcasts to see when this one will return. God bless you, and thank you for being a part of the audience. Thank you all for being on the panel. You ladies are beautiful. I love each and every one of you. And we'll see you next time on Hurt Heal Evolve. Bye.